Hey, it's your buddy Tim Show back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. And I thought for this video, I will actually do some content instead of a shard pull. And I hear Raid is going to mix it up in the next few days and do a couple of shard pulls. Some shard events are coming up. So it's been a while since we've done one. So I think that it's well worth your time to spend some of those shards you've been saving up for the last 15 or 20 minutes. But anyway, what I figured I'd do is I would do a video on my top 10 favorite epics. It's going to be somewhat controversial because everyone has epics that they absolutely love and use all the time, and I do as well. So I'm going to give you my top 10, and if you feel like I missed anything or you wanted to add epic that you think deserve to be on this list, please let me know. But until then, let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, so let's start the video by talking about some of the champions that I'm not going to include, and I'm kind of in the way here. So let me move myself out of the way a little bit here so you can see all of the champions that I'm talking about here. So these are champions I'm not going to include because I think they would pretty much be on everybody's list. I mean, they're basically legendary champions that pretend they're epics. But Madam Ceres, Seer, Maneater, Stag Knight, and Seeker are all just S-tier champions. So I will not be including those in my top 10 favorite epics. And then in the next section here, I'm going to give some honorable mentions that also won't be in my top 10. Then we will get into the top 10. So let's continue. All right, so some honorable mentions here that I think probably could have made it on almost anybody's list. But here are the, six honorable mentions that probably should have been on my list. But since I was only going to do 10, someone had to be on the honorable mention and someone had to be on the top 10 list. So starting from the top left, we'll work our way around, and that's Cardinal, probably the best epic reviver in the game for sure, and maybe one of the better revivers all around. Unbelievable champion, built her tough as a go second champion, and she is unbelievable champion. Jirag, fantastic healer, carry champ all the way through faction wars, can do Doom Tower hard, unbelievable. Jirag is an unbelievable champion. I still use him in some content. Gorgorab, I've stopped using Gorgorab a lot, but early on he was my go-to healer and res champion, and tough as nails, does some damage, and is a fantastic champion. The Dark Elhain, I actually have two of those built. That was my first Hedgie counter, and her and her sister, Dark Elhain 2, would just nuke a Hedgie down anytime he tried to freeze my teeth. And then Genbo, I think an S-tier nuker. I think every bit as good as any of them, Foley included, kind of a Foley idea where he ignores unkillables and things. I mean, Foley ignores revive, Genbo ignores unkillable, but yeah, Skullcrown killer and Leoris counter for sure. And then finally, Godseeker is a Godseeker. I mean, she is a great champion, but again, not my favorite. I do use her, but not very much. She is on my Faction Wars team, but that's about it. So those are all my honorable mentions. So let's go ahead and get into the top 10. Okay, so starting off, but by far not the least. Now, any of these top 10 could probably be interchanged. This is just, again, my top 10 favorites, and there wasn't really any objective criteria I used to pick these guys, but just champions I love to play, love the animation, love the artwork, and very, very useful. So without any more hesitation, let's bring on number 10, who is Vergis. Vergis of the High Elves is an unbelievable champion. Spider, Scarab King solo artist, has an unbelievable kit from his A1 where he's reflecting damage on a 40% chance to his A2, which is really his bread and butter, where he's putting all of these allied buffs and allied protection on your team. Has got a great passive where he puts up a shield to maintain his spider integrity, or his Scarab King integrity, and gives a great ally defense in all dungeons. So yeah, Vergis is my number 10. Unbelievably cool looking champion. I mean, they just don't get much better than that guy. So that's number 10. Let's go ahead and move on to number 9. Okay, so number 9 is another support champion, and a guy who might be an elf or a dwarf want-to-be, because I always want to look for him in the dwarf faction, and that is my number 9, Archmage Helmet. Archmage Helmet is a fantastic champion. He is I think he's the first epic you get on Doom Tower normal, if I'm not wrong. But everything about him is fantastic. He fills his turn meter by 20% on critical hits, and you want to build him with crit because he does a few things based on that. He's got a stun on his A2 on a 3-turn cooldown, which if you get him going fast enough is just very, very oppressive. And I believe it's, 50, 60, 75% stun. And yeah, unbelievable. And then he does all of these buffs on your champions on a 3-turn cooldown as well. Everything you could possibly want. You're short on crit rate, he gives it to you. Short on crit damage, he gives it to you, and he gives you unbelievable speed. He's immune to turn meter decreasing effects, and he's got a nice speed aura in arena battles. So Archmage Helmet is my number 9. And again, I mean, just a fantastic looking champion. I love the colors. I love the electric motif around him. Yeah, just a cool champion. Love him. Use him. He's a faction war god for me, and I use him in Doom Tower a lot as well because he just holds down enemy waves like no one else. So that is number 9. Let's move on to number 8. Okay, number 8 holds a special area in my heart because she was the first epic that really changed my account. Up until then, I had gotten some rares and made some mistakes and crunched some rares that I shouldn't have. But Ursula was the first one that changed my account, got me through Ice Golem and some other things. Another support champion. I do kind of like the support champions, I figured out as I was going through this list. But number 8, yes, number 8 on my list is Ursula the Mourner. And Ursula is fantastic pretty much in everything she does. Again, she has a chance to reduce turn meter on her A1. Her A2 does a increase attack for your team and a decrease attack on the opposing team, which is very, very helpful in Ice Golem, which is really what she got me through. Then she has one of the better revives in the game, maybe not as good as Cardinal, but very, very good on a 5-turn cooldown, and then also has a nice speed aura in Doom Tower battles, which I don't really use her for. She's pretty much only in my faction teams right now. In fact, I don't even think she's on my faction team anymore, but I always have a soft spot in my heart for Ursula the Mourner because she just looks really cool, right? And does a lot of great stuff, and if you're struggling with content, she can get you through almost anything you need. So again, number 8, Ursula the Mourner. Okay, we're to number 7 now, and number 7, you might be surprised to know, is a support champion. But he's one of the most unique support champions, he or she, I'm not sure which. One of the most unique support champions because this support champion does something that no one else does in the game, I don't believe, but has a very, very unique kit, and sometimes it's hard to see the value in this champion because he or she is doing things behind the scenes and just being a complete carry champion, and that is Venom Mage. Venom Mage is a newer champion that was part of a fusion for, I don't remember who, but part of a fusion. Really, really good champion. Has a heal reduction buff on, decreases the max HP by a whole bunch if they have a heal reduction buff on them, and then also has a chance of activating 2 poisons if the enemy has poisons on them. And then the A2 has decreased defense and decreased attack, which is a pretty rare skill to have indeed on a 3-turn cooldown. A really, really fantastic skill. And then his A3 attacks all enemies with heal reduction and poison. And if you remember, the A1 comes right back around, does great stuff on the A1 after this on a 3-turn cooldown. And then enemies under a heal reduction debuff inflict 15% less damage. So it's sort of a weaken buff on them, or I guess a semi-strengthen buff on you as well. It's a really, really good aura, and it adds up. You wouldn't think 15% would be so wanted, but it is. So if you do get strengthens and attack down or defense down, depending on the champions you're facing, this really, really adds up and really helps reduce the damage. Also has some accuracy in all battles, which is really good. So Venom Mage, fantastic champion. Lizard Man, Venom Mage, one of my favorites. I still use this champion in Doom Tower and in Faction Wars. So that is number 7. Okay, so we're on to number 6, and you'll be happy to know number 6 is not a support champion, only by title, because he is definitely a support champion. But he's listed as a defensive champion, but I use him definitely as a support champion, and that is Duck the Pierced. Duck the Pierced is probably was kind of my first real attack down, defense down champion, which is one of the best skills in the game, right? I mean, you keep them from hurting you, and you keep and you increase the damage you do to the enemies. Unbelievable skill. Has a decreased accuracy on his A1. His A2 is his bread and butter on a 3-turn cooldown, which is absolutely fantastic. And then also does this provoke an unkillable on a target enemy. I wish this, if this were AoE, he would be probably one of the best champions in the game, so I can understand why it's not AoE. But he does a provoke, puts it unkillable, and a reflect damage on himself, and is a really, really good champion. Also has a defensive aura in Faction Crypts. So Duck the Pierced was my first decreased attack and decreased defense champion that I really took advantage of, and just still have a soft spot in my heart for Duck the Pierced. So that would be number 6, Duck the Pierced. Okay, so we're on to number 5. Now, number 5 was a champion that I got and didn't use. Kind of kept her in the vault for a while. Didn't use her. And as the game has progressed, this champion has become key and will continue to be key, I think, for a long time to come, because she has some really unbelievable parts to her kit. And I know you're going to be surprised that I picked another support champion, but that is Doom Priest. And Doom Priest is amazing, is just amazing, right? Has an A1, attacks an enemy if it's critical. She'll put an increased crit rate, which, any kind of utility on an A1 is always welcome. Her A2 will put increased attack buff on all your champions. Her A3 will heal everyone by 7.5% of their HP and remove a random debuff at the start of her turn. So if you make her fast, she is just a healing and buff removing champion, and that has become very, very important and will continue to be important, I think, as especially with the Hydra boss. I mean, I've heard other content creators say they really are just going to build 5 or 6 Doom Priests for different roles, right? Some real fast to remove debuffs, some with some damage, and maybe some with some poison from the Venom kit or whatever, Toxic kit or whatever. So, and then she also has a speed forced ally battle by 15%, which is nothing to write home about. But again, very cool looking champion. I know, I as I put this together, I was like, holy cow, I like support champions. But I do, because I think they make this game go round. But I think, like most people, I didn't value her as much as I should have until I actually got into some content where really no one else can do what she does. So again, number 5 is Doom Priest. Okay, number 4 is neither a defensive-based champion nor a support champion. I know that sounds like surprising for me, but he, if you watch any of my 3x3 arena videos, is a superstar on the team. I have 2 of him built out, and he is Inquisitor Shamal, who, in my estimation, is one of the greatest single target damage champions in the game. I don't care who you are. He's a void epic champion that will take down any Duchess, any Siphi, any Krisk, doesn't matter. And I have 2 of them with a Kymar, and if you let me have enough room and speed to go get my turns in, I will kill your whole team with him. He has an A1 that... let's see, it attacks one enemy has 50% chance of decreasing the duration of a random buff on the target by 1 turn. Every time an enemy places a debuff on an ally, it will use this skill against that enemy. These counterattacks will only deal 50% of the normal damage. So he has that, and it's kind of an annoying... It's almost like a passive, but I put one of my Shemales in a stun set, and he just spits this out like 50 times and ends up stunning somebody, so it's amazing. His bread and butter is this one, where he'll attack one enemy 3 times. It is a slapper. I mean, this guy hits for about 100k per hit, will ignore 25% of the target's defense right off the bat, and will ignore another 25% for each buff on him. So you put him with a Duchess who puts 3 buffs up, he will ignore 100% of the target's defense, and then if he kills somebody, he's got a chance to put a True Fear on all of the enemies on the team. Doesn't happen much because I don't build them with a lot of accuracy. So, well, accuracy is a mistake. I don't really try to build him with any accuracy because all I want is that big giant smack to take out your tanks and revivers, and then with each critical hit he'll fill his turn meter by 7.5%. Whenever an ally receives a fear or true fear from an enemy, they'll instantly remove the debuff and fill his turn meter by another 15%. So he's a pretty good champion against Mashald because of this passive, and then he has a accuracy in Doom Tower battles, which I think is weird because he doesn't really have accuracy in his kit. But if you're looking for somebody just to nuke people down, this is your guy. Build 2 of them. Check out my 3x3 arena because he is an absolute monster. And that is number 4. Okay, for number 3, we are back on the wagon for our support champions, but I don't think anybody would disagree. This next champion is... I mean, I could have put him on the list of you don't even really want to include him because he's really a legendary and epic skin, but that is Deacon Armstrong. And Deacon Armstrong is a complete stud. I mean, he does everything. A leech on his A1, decreased defense on his A2, but this is really his bread and butter. So he'll fill your turn meters, reduce the turn meters of your enemy, get an extra turn, go in, put the defense down on them. So his if you have him go first in arena, he can be your turn meter and your defensive down specialist. He's got a bit of a speed aura in all battles, and just does everything unbelievable. Not my favorite looking champion. I don't love the sensor on his head. I think he's a little goofy looking, but I mean, he's a Sacred Order. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? The brother is awesome. I don't use him as much as I used to because I switched off my Arbiter team and use Siphi now and Kymar, but I still use him in my Faction War team and then occasionally in Doom Tower as well. But unbelievable champion, number 3, Deacon Armstrong. Okay, so we're getting down to it. We're down to our last 2 epic champions, and you may or may not have decided what I'm going to pick. I think this next one might be a surprise unless you've watched my channel for some time, and I've mentioned it a few times. But this guy, I couldn't put him number 1 because he doesn't quite do everything I want him to do. He's not a support champion at all. He does have some support features, and he is just a beast. And I think just style-wise and watching him work is probably my favorite champion in the game, and that is Fenix. I absolutely love this champion. I think he is very cool looking. The black sword, the black sort of understated cape, the rose on his chest. I don't know. I love it. I think he's fantastic. I don't know what kind of reviews he gets. Yeah, he gets good reviews. He's an absolute beast. He's got a block revive on an A1 that hits like an absolute truck. An absolute truck. You put him on a allied attack team, and he just creates all kinds of problems. He's got this block buffs and block active skills on his A2 on a 4-turn cooldown, which is really, really helpful. He'll also do some work if Talia's on the team, but I don't ever run him with Talia, so I don't worry about his bomb debuff detonation. Although, if bombs ever come back into the meta, I might have to think about it. Maybe him and Talia and 2 War Mothers or something. I don't know. We'll think about it. But again, another part of his kit that is unlooked at and unused. Everybody thinks of him as a smacker, and he is. But these block buffs and block active skills on the same thing. He's blocking buffs and active skills. So he's got a chance to, if he does them both, I guess it doesn't help a lot, except for unkillables. But even if he gets one of them, 2 of the strongest debuffs in the game, if you ask me. And then his A3, he's also got some unbelievable debuffs as well, but just on one enemy, and that's a decreased defense and decreased speed. So against some of the bosses and things, this is super helpful. So again, just an attack-based total nuker with some unbelievable things in his kit. One of my favorites. I have 2 of him right now, and I always kind of wanted to do a whole team of him because he does so much cool stuff, but I just haven't. But again, number 2 is my boy Fenix. Okay, so we are down to it. We are to my number 1 favorite epic in the whole game, and I think it'll probably be a surprise. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, they list her as an attack-based champion, but she's really a support/turn meter champion, and that's Allure. I think Allure is the best epic in the game, besides the ones that are basically legendaries that shouldn't be talked about. But I don't know how you do fast fire knights without an Allure. I don't know how. I have 2 Allures built, go on semi-fast 250s with all the things they need. Let's go through her kit real quick. She attacks 3 times at random. She'll decrease the target's turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. So she is a bit of a stat hog, so you need 100% crit, you need good accuracy, and you need her fast, and then survivability. And if you can get damage out of her, it's awesome. She'll attack all enemies 2 times. She has a chance of putting a decreased defense and a sleep under targets that are already under decreased defense. I turn that off. I turn everything off for her except for her A1. She'll have this where she has an extra 30% inflicted critical hit, and will ignore 50% of the target's defense. I'm not really worried about getting damage out of my Allures, although they do pretty well. They hit harder than you think they would. It's really about her A1, and you put 2 of these gals on one team, moving fast, and the other team never even gets a prayer of a turn, because these 3 attacks get spread out amongst the team, and they're losing half of their turn meter almost every turn. And if you have a speed aura, like with a Duchess or something in front of these gals, yeah, it gets really, really good. So again, Allure, unbelievable champion. Plus, I mean, if I had to pick a raid crush, it would be Allure. I think she is she's a bit of a hottie. So yeah, so that is my top 10 epics. Let me know what you think. Did I leave anybody out? Do you think somebody else should have been mentioned? Do you disagree with the rankings that I put? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. And yeah, let me know what you think. And if you would please like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. And I'd love to get my message out there. And we'll see you on the next video. God bless.